Well, we're here at Little John Lakes today. Where is it? Nottingham. Where is it? Nottingham.
Ollerton, just on the outskirts of Nottingham.
Yeah, but what does it say? Is it Nottingham? People don't know Ollerton, do they?
Yeah, all right, just say it's on the outskirts of Nottingham.
Okay. Well, we're here at Little John Lakes today, just outside Nottingham. And the reason we're here is because me and Nick were talking a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about feeder fishing. Now, I'm a real big fan of pellet feeders. Nick's a real big fan of method feeders, and we were deciding which one's the best. And now the weather's just starting to turn, we thought it'd be nice to get out and do a bit of experiment. Now, it's a venue Nick knows really well. He comes here quite a lot in the summer. And you like method feeders, don't you, Nick?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And to be honest with you, it's something that I always have a lot of confidence in, so it's going to be interesting today because I know you like the pellet feeder, so we're both strong on both of those methods, so I think the results might be interesting.
Yeah, I think if we've sort of controlled the bait, sort of use the same sort of feed through the feeder, and maybe tweak hook baits a little bit, I think we're going to get a bit of an experiment.
Yeah, we will, and learn a lot as well, and this is the best thing about two people testing in different methods. Right, I think it's about time I showed you how to catch a few fish, so let's get fishing.
Good luck, mate. You'll need it.
Right, let's talk about my tackle. What I'm going to be using today to hopefully beat Rob. Let's talk about the rod and the reel first of all. I'm using a 9-foot Beastmaster CX feeder rod. It's a 911 rod, but obviously I'm only chucking it 16 metres out, so I'm using it in a 9-foot version. The softest ½ an ounce quiver tip with it as well. Lovely action rod. Nice forgiving action all the way through, which means today, as the water temperature is cooling a bit, I'm fishing a slightly lighter hook length, 0.14 diameter. So that means the rod can cushion any big fish that I get on and minimise any hook pulls. I'm also using quite a small hook, so that means my rod can absorb all the action from hard fighting fish and I can still land quite big fish on small gear. The reel, perfect tool for this rod. It's the new CI4 plus 4000. Now, the CI4 basically is a material that's made the reel really, really light. So it's just a smartened up version of the Aero Spin or the Feeder F8. Now, it balances perfectly with this rod, and it's also got a really, really smooth drag, ultra smooth drag, which is really important on days like today where I'm fishing only a 4-inch hook length, which enables me to play the fish on the spool actually spinning as opposed to me having to back wind. So it's actually working quite like an elastic. So that's the setup. Now the line I'm using for main line is Shimano Invisitech, and it's a new line that's just come out. It's 0.22 main line I'm using, and it's really, really robust. As well as that, it's got minimum stretch as well, which I find is quite important for the feeder. So I actually can read indications what's going on with my feeder quite quickly because there's very little stretch. It's robust as well and got a very, very good knot strength. So all round good feeder work, and it sinks really quickly. So it's got perfect properties for a feeder line. So that's the rod and the reel. Let's talk about the business end now. I'm only using a small method feeder today because I want to really watch how much feed I give the fish. This is a time of the year where you can quite easily put too much feed on your feeder, and as a result you don't get bites. We're kind of like aggravating the fish into feeding. So I'm only using a very small method feeder, and around the feeder I'm just going to be putting micro pellets with a bit of ground bait sometimes. A short hook length, a 4-inch hook length with only a size 20 hook. In the summertime what you'll find is the fish feed more aggressively on your bait, so you can get away with a bigger hook as they suck the bait in more confidently. But this is a time of the year where they're kind of like picking at your bait more cautiously. So by using a smaller hook you actually end up with a better result, more bites, and you also catch the wiser fish that are in your peg feeding. Also at the end here I've put a tungsten olivet on my main line, and this kind of like acts as a boom. So when I cast the feeder out and I slacken the line off, because I don't really want to fish a tight line up to my quiver tip, I kind of like fish a soft, in a way a bow. That means that this olivet actually sags the main line down, so when fish are feeding in the area where my feeder is, they're not going to actually touch the main line because it's laying below the feeder. And that's quite important, because what that does is that minimises my line bites, and line bites can often spook fish. So if my main line's out of the way, it just means the indications I'm receiving on the quiver tip are from fish feeding on my feeder as opposed to hitting the main line. So that's it. It's quite a simple setup, but very, very effective as well. So that's how I'm going to approach today's match. Small method feeder, and mainly just alternating between what baits are put on the hook. So let's have a look at the bait choices, what I'm going to be using today. Right, let's talk about hook bait choice now. Now today I'm going to keep things quite simple, as I always try to do, especially with the method feeder. So 2 choices are on my side tray. First of all, my most favoured choice, which is a Dynamite XL 6mm. Now these pellets are absolutely brilliant for banding, uniformed in size, and they stay hard as well, which means I can catch several fish on one hook bait. They're my first ones, and to be honest with you I'm expecting to catch quite a few fish on these pellets today. Also, Rob doesn't know about these. I've just picked these up from the warehouse and they've just come out, Dynamite 7 and 9mm boilies. And today we're on a commercial fishery that holds a lot of small fish. 7mm boilie, for example, is absolutely perfect for just picking out the smaller fish in your peg feeding. Nice colours as well, so we've got these in yellow. Stand out from the pellets what I'm going to be feeding. I'm sure these are going to wingle out those extra few fish that will put me a few steps ahead of Rob. So I think he'll be in for a shock when he sees these after the match. So that's it really. I've got 2 choices. Keep it simple, and that means I can concentrate on the hook baits and worry about my feeding and my presentation, as opposed to having loads of choices on my side tray and not knowing what hook baits to put on. Keep it simple, catch loads of fish. So let's see what happens.
Right, we're just starting to get a few fish now, and let me tell you, it's hard work. the weather's just turned. It's gone a little bit cooler overnight. And I don't really know the venue. Nick's proper favourite today. I've got to really try my hardest. So, you know, I'm having to work really hard. I'm having to cast out my peg, catch a few fish. But while we've got a bit of a break, let me just talk you through the kit I'm using. Very similar to Nick's really. I've got Beastmaster CX feeder rod. I've got it at 9 foot, perfect for little short chucks. You can see it's got nice through action. You can see a lot of pegs on commercials, they're very tight, so you can put it to the side and you're not struggling netting fish. Really nice rod, perfect for sort of up to like 25-30 metres really, casting method feeders and little pellet feeders. The reel, using the Aero Spin, it's a superb reel. You know, it's a shame it's got the spin tag because it's superb for all commercial fishery work, really powerful, it's never let me down before. Loaded that with the Technium Invisitech line. This is £6, superb robust line, not loads of stretch, so again you're seeing a lot of indications on the tip and you can read your tip really well. Down to the feeders, right. A lot of my pellet feeder fishing is done with this sort of size feeder. It's just a Preston pellet feeder, nice feeder, it's 30 gram, but it carries a bit too much bait for this time of year. So I've got some little homemade jobbies, they're just made out of a bit of a syringe, chamfer a bit of syringe there. It holds less bait, it's ideal for when the water's a little bit cooler. Got that just sliding on the line. All I've done is I've just put a swivel on the line and that locks inside the neck of the syringe there. The hook length's taken a bit of a battering. I've caught a few fish on it out, so it's a bit kinky, but you just have to excuse that. It's 014, that's a Spire Silk Shock. Again, no nonsense line, never lets me down. I've got a size 18 eyed hook there, little bait band on the end, and the hook length's 4 inch. And all I'm doing is tucking most of that in the feeder when I'm loading the feeder, so the carp doesn't have to suck a long way before it feels the bolt effect sort of thing of the feeder. So that's the kit. Again, really simple kit, but it does a job. Hook bait options. All I've done is I've just got a selection of pellets, hard pellets. You know, I've just put them in a tub. I've got some 6mm. These are just XL pellets. They're what I like to use in the band. You know, as hook baits. But also, and I've caught quite a few fish on these today because I think it's a real visual thing, especially with a pellet feeder where you're placing your hook bait outside of the feeder a lot of the time. I'm using these slow sinking nuggets. They're perfect for pellet feeder, for method feeder hook baits. Really soft, and when you just plop one in the water, you can see how slow the bait actually sinks. So when it's sitting on the bottom with the weight of your hook, it's neutral buoyancy. So fish doesn't have to suck very hard, and the hook's in its gob. Like I say, it's a very visual thing with winter carp, cold water carp, and you know I'm using a little white nugget, and all I'm doing is trimming it down a little bit just to make it a tiny bit smaller. The other thing as well. One of the main reasons I'm up against it today is because Nick got here a little bit early. Like I say, he knows the venue really well, but he got here a bit early. He's chose the peg, so he's on the best peg. But the reason that is as well is because I had to stop at the office on the way here. I had to stop at Dynamite on the way here just to pick up a few bits and bobs. And I've managed to grab some of these boilies. Now I'm going to give these a go. I don't think Nick's got any of these, so all I'm going to do is just give these a go. I don't use a load of boilies for a lot of my fishing, but I've been assured these are the way to go. I know that a lot of places respond well to boilies, and to be honest, they smell pretty good to me, so I'm hoping that the fish like them as well. So there you go. You can just see simple feed, but I've given myself a range of hook bait options, and I think that's a lot to do with catching a few fish on a pellet feeder.
Today we're using the same pellet, 2mm feed pellet, perfect for commercial fishing, really good quality pellet as well. But the difference between myself and Rob, we do ours slightly differently when we come to prepping them. I like a harder pellet, and I know Rob likes a softer pellet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the procedure of how we prepare our pellets individually to give you a good idea of what are the advantages, why you want to do them hard or why you want to do them soft. So I'll show you how I do mine. And all I do, I've got a tub here with some water, spare empty tub as well. Put some pellets in. You don't need to do them all a lot, you know, you can just do them in batches if you want to, because they hardly take any time to do. Completely submerge the pellets in water. And then most people, what they do is they leave them in for a minute, but I like to take the water straight off and completely drain the pellets. And the reason for this is, what you find is, I'm still actually feeding a hard pellet, and my belief behind it is, we'll leave them for a minute and just let them absorb the moisture, but this is the end product. And what you find is, because they're semi-hard in a way, no matter how hard I squeeze them, when they actually break down, they still break down as whole individual pellets. Now that's quite important at this time of year when the water's quite clear. We don't want clouds of bait floating about. We want individual particles on the bottom so the fish can clearly see the pellets on the bottom and pick them up. Now the only other addition I do is I add the Swim Stim, Dynamite Swim Stim milled expander pellet to it. Now what I find is it's a really good binder, and fish love expanders ground. Only a small amount, and it acts as a binder. So it helps stiffen the pellets up. So when I'm fishing a method feeder, as you can see, just with a small squeeze like that, I can form the pellets into a ball. And even when you want to feed them in a pole pot, in a little nugget, you'll find a milled expander ground bait will actually help bind the pellets for whatever use you need them for. So that's how I do my pellets. So how do you do yours, Rob?
See, to be honest, for method feeder that's perfect. You've got total control over your pellets, and I'm just like you. For method feeder I'll have them slightly on the not as soaked, shall we say, but not as soaked. But for pellet feeder I much prefer a much softer pellet.
Yeah.
So all I'll have is a tub of water, just like you've had. Add my pellets to the water. And then whereas you've sort of drained your water off straight away, I'll leave them to sit for maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're not going to waste 30 seconds by leaving them sit. So I'm going to drain the water off now, but for instance, we've let them sit for 30 seconds in the water, let them soften slightly, absorb a bit of water. And then all I get is another tub, the same bait tub that sits inside, and I just squeeze out the water and I turn it upside down and leave it.
Hey, that's a good idea.
All I do is leave it like that. I'll do that probably when as soon as I get to my peg, and I'll leave it there. So you probably get an hour setting up on most matches. I'll leave it there for an hour. When again, remember, don't just lift the bait tub up. You turn the bait tub over, take the tub off. There'll still be loads of water in there that you've not drained off. So again, the pellets are absorbing more water than you would with Nick's style, but that makes them much better for putting in a pellet feeder, because they become spongy, which means they can force themselves out of the feeder much better. So to be honest, there's two different styles there. You can maybe take a little bit of both, or you can use one style for your style of fishing or another style for a different style of fishing, but I suppose we're getting a very similar result. Didn't end very well, did it, Matt? So there we go, two different ways of preparing pellets, only slightly different, but you can see you get two different end results. Nick prefers slightly harder pellets for fishing a method feeder, and obviously for fishing a pellet feeder I prefer much softer pellets. So there you go, let's get back on the box and then catch a few more fish. There we go. We've fished for probably about 2 hours today, and although it's not a massive amount, we've probably had about 25–30 pound each. There's not much between the nets. I'd say Nick's had probably a little bit more in weight. I think I've actually had some better quality fish. Do you think? So you've had more fish than me, but
yeah.
It's I don't know. It's probably a bit inconclusive, really. But like I say, the weather's on the turn, so maybe in the next few weeks, when it gets really cold, a pellet feeder would probably be the better presentation. Whereas a bit too much feed, do you reckon, around a method?
Yeah, definitely. That seems to have made a difference today. You've not had as many bites, but you've had better quality fish, whereas I've had a lot more bites. So you can get away with a method at this time of the year, but in a bit colder weather, it won't work.
Right, let's get the fish back.
Well, I think we've had quite an interesting day. Look, we've not caught a lot of fish, but I've learnt a lot from today, and especially watching Rob how he's fished, and then vice versa. I'm sure you've learnt a bit on my side.
Loads.
And I think that's what it's all about. You know, we've not caught a lot of fish, but it's given us time to actually go through different bait choices, especially hook bait choices, and wingle out those few extra fish, which is, well, how you learn. You learn by talking to your friends and competing and trying different things between you. And today's, I've got a lot out of today. So I look forward to the next one. Where are you going to take me, do you think?
I think, to be fair, you've picked me today. You've worked out earlier on that you needed to feed a little bit with a catapult over the top, pinging a few 6-mils. That's really worked, and I think that's home advantage. You've had home advantage today. You've picked me because of that. I think we're going to take you somewhere a bit nearer my home, and I think we'll go on a natural venue next time.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, same to you.